Here's my chamber guide for Bind. Chamber recently got some rendezvous changes where he's got increased range. And I think that is actually going to push him into the competitive meta quite a bit. And Bind is probably the biggest candidate for Chamber for solo queue. I quickly want to talk about Bind and Chamber, like how they interact and like what Chamber's game plan is going into a Bind game. And usually you're going to be playing a lot of B. This tends to be because in competitive, or in rank, sorry, B tends to be the weak side, and Chamber really likes playing weak side. That's because he's a Sentinel, kind of helps. He also has Rendezvous, which is a pretty self-sufficient ability. And on top of that as well, he tends to be inclined to buy the Operator, and he has an op for his actual, like, ult. So, kind of makes sense for him to play weak side a lot. That doesn't mean that he's going to play weak side all the time, and I will talk about that at some points. But he will play strong side sometimes in defense. So, on Bind, usually you're going to be, when you're on weak side, you're usually going to be, like, playing down the lanes. So what I mean by that is that usually you're going to have 2 players garden, no players window, or like hookah, or 2 players hookah, no players garden, or no players long. That's usually how it's going to go when you play weak side, because taking control of one of these spaces is actually a lot more effective than just solo holding the 2 spaces. With Chamber though, is that he can kind of semi-hold one of them by himself. So it does mean it like opens up like 4 ones, so 4 players A, 1 B. But generally you don't want to do that. I'll talk about long first, and how you can kind of play long. First of all, with Chamber, the reason why you can like 4-1 stuff is because you do have this trip as well. So if you want to put the trip in hookah and then go play long, that's completely fine. When you play long, there's going to be multiple ways you can do it, right? So if there's more like, if the enemy team play more slow, you can probably get away with placing like a more advanced rendezvous. That's just a general rule of thumb. Because generally, if they play slow, you can kind of watch for like, what they're doing in the round. And if they're not doing things in the area where your rendezvous is, you can go for a little walk and try and find an off angle that will catch someone off guard. Unfortunately, in B long, there's not a great place. Like, this is the closest you'll probably get to like a good angle using this rendezvous. Simply because if you go here, you're kind of splitting your angles up. You don't want to do this. You want to isolate angles, so you want to be here. This isn't necessarily an off angle though, because people might be ready for this if they haven't got that space. So just be careful of that. But that is still like a really, really good thing you can do for long. Otherwise, you're going to be doing stuff like placing it over here because of the new range. You can kind of have a bit more safety when it comes to how far away you can place the rendezvous. I'm pretty sure you can even place it. Can you place it here? I'm pretty sure you can, right? But it's pretty close. You can place it here. Yeah, you can. You can. You can go here as well, and you can place it all the way back here. So even people who won't be able to like shoot you if you want to try and cross here. That's actually really strong to do this. Obviously, it gives you a lot less space to work with though, so you can't like, if you need to dodge something, you can't do this because you're at your rendezvous. So just be careful of that. We're going to talk about hookah next. And same thing with hookah, same thing with long that we said about hookah. Place your trip for the other one, basically. Super, super easy. For hookah, first of all, you want to be thinking about what kind of gun you want to use. Like, you use Phantom in this small space, or Judge in this small space. Don't be too afraid to, like, experiment, especially with Chamber. He always has this backup in his Headhunter, which is basically a pocket guardian. You basically don't need to worry about what gun you're using, because if you have access to a couple bullets, you probably have access to a couple kills with those bullets, right? So, in hookah, some of the best TPs are going to be... I think there's one over here that gives you safety in front of hookah, like this, right? So you can sort of play this angle, TP out. You can kind of do the same in mid-side as well, I'm pretty sure. So you don't have to be in this corner if you don't want to. If you're against a raise, for instance, it could be really bad. You go into this corner, you'll basically trap yourself in. So you can go here and go mid-side as well. You can use these as mix-ups as well, so you can mix up which one you use every round, just to kind of throw off the enemy with where you're going to be on site. Another way you can use it as well is, once again, the more advanced TP I was talking about over here, you can do the same thing in hookah. So when the barriers drop, just want to play a bit safer, you know? You don't want to give away, like if they're playing slower, you don't really want to give away these kills, right? So you want to be careful at this angle. You may want to jump spot, or just be very, very careful that you don't die in this area, basically. If they aren't here, then you can kind of go for, once again, kind of a little walk, and kind of find, like, an off angle like this. So once again, you might be thinking, like, this off angle is, like, the same as the one before over here, right? Where 2 angles are split. Funnily enough, it actually isn't the same, because these long players over here very rarely will check this if there's a player in market. They'll very rarely look over here. They'll just be focused on long. Also, the market players tend to be here first, and the long players tend to be last because of the nature of the rotations, right? The rotation is a lot longer from like this area than it is from this area. So you're more likely to get a kill in this area, even though you're splitting up angles like this. Otherwise, like, if you want to find a nice angle, it'd be like this, right? And it is a bit more checkable, or like a bit more shootable for them, because think about it like this, right? The enemy is going to retake this space by looking at this angle, and then they're going to like basically focus on this angle as they walk left. And at this point, they're going to be exposed to you, right? They're going to be exposed to this angle, not looking at you. So it should be a free kill. That's kind of how I see this rendezvous going. And it's actually a really, really strong one, as long as you can guarantee they're playing slow. It's also good as well if they take the TP, because then you have like basically this angle. It can be a bit scary though, because you're TPing quite close to where they're like using the portal from or whatever. So yeah, you're gonna have to be in the thick of it basically. But yeah, as I've said, stuff like getting a shotgun in hookah, like Judge. If you get a Judge and then have the headhunter for the actual like other players, right? So you have the TP here, and then you can just headhunt to this person when they come out, TP back, and then you've got the Judge to defend yourself when they like try and push you fast. You know, that's also safety that Chamber didn't really have before. Like to go back that far, he would have to place his TP like there, for instance, to get that kind of angle. So he's actually had it's actually a massive difference the rendezvous changes have made. So yeah, that's kind of it for B. Like, there's not a huge amount to really talk about with Chamber necessarily. It's more about just general macro, and then there's a lot more openness to it with like what off angles you can play. That's kind of it for Chamber. Obviously, you can play on site if you need to. Never TP back here as well. That's also completely fine. But generally, you don't want to be playing on site on B. Generally, you do want to be taking one of these two spaces. Even on the weak side, you want to be in one of those two spaces. You very, very rarely want to play B site. It's definitely one of the things that a lot of people in low elo, and even in mid elos, even like towards high elo, like Immortal 1, Immortal 2, I see people playing on site, like that sort of stuff, and they don't understand like what the general like idea is with controlling one of these two spaces. Once again, kind of the same with B. If you're going to play weak side on A, you want to take one of the two places, or you want to be like pressuring one of the two spaces, I would say, in A, because you can't really take short, but you can kind of take showers. So generally you want to take showers, or you want to be pressuring short as a 2, ideally. So the ways that you're going to do that on Chamber, once again, if we're going to take showers, we're going to have a trap over here, and our rendezvous probably will be somewhere over here like this. And once again, this is one of the more advanced ones we can place. So if they are playing slow or they don't have anyone here, we can go for a walk up until the end of our rendezvous and try and find an angle. I wouldn't go this far though. I'd probably like line up the angles like this, for instance. The reason, like what I'm doing here is I'm lining up these 3 corners. So if someone swings me, which they probably won't actually swing you, they'll probably be slow walking. They probably, they'll go straight into me. All 3 of them will go straight into me in the same angle. I'm not like having to like hold this, swing into this one if they peek me from there, or if I just didn't know someone was close, I'd have to swing even further, right, to this angle. So instead, I'm just lining up all the angles. So if someone does walk around the corner, you know, it's not super difficult for me to micro adjust. That's like one of the ones we can do. You also do ones in showers, and the thing is that it's now got so strong with like where you can place your rendezvous for showers. Like, look at this, 18-meter radius. Oh my god, the safety you can have from this angle is crazy. This isn't really an off angle, but the safety you can have now is crazy, because there's no way someone is getting to now from there. Like, that is genuinely untradeable. Like, Raze can't get there. Maybe obviously a pre-planned Yoru can or something. Like, a Jet can't get there, and Neon's gonna struggle to get there in time as well. So everything about the new TP is actually really strong. Like the new range. Once again, that's kind of how you just play showers. It's fairly self-explanatory, fairly easy. A lot of it is about macro decisions on Chamber, like where you go and what you do, rather than like the actual setup to do it, if that makes sense. So with A, once again, same thing. We can do some really safe TPs. Like you can see, like we can place one in CT and still have a decent TP, right? You can also do ones that like super far up. So the ones that are far up are going to be ones like this. So you're going to put one in lamps, and then you can actually sit in this corner when the barrier drops. So the barrier drops, you're like here before the barrier drops, and you walk into this. And the thing is, it's actually quite a good angle. It's like a deceptively good angle. It's very similar to the Lotus, Lotus on B. You know, like the first angle on main, so you look left when you're attacking B, and the first angle on the left. That's actually a really good angle to sit in a retake, because people just don't check you. And it's kind of the same with this one. Like, people don't check this corner. They check this angle, and then usually that angle gets skipped, and they do this. It happens a lot. These people don't even look at this angle because they expect these people to take it, right? To do it. The thing is that those players won't. They're not checking it. They're skipping the angle. Against a chamber, you don't skip this angle. You have to be very, very careful, because he will just one-tap you if you're not looking at him there. And you can TP away all the way back to lamps, which is quite strong from this position, right? It's quite a massive distance. So yeah, I really do like the way that chamber is now. It's getting closer to his old ways, but at the same time, it's not like super, super oppressive. It definitely is more solo queue them. Once again, you can do stuff like this as well. Seeing these types of corners, that really should be a death sentence if you're any other character in the game, any other agent. But for chamber, it's not, right? You can just TV back to Druk. Actually, you can probably do even further back. No, you can't actually. It has to be Druk. Okay. But that's pretty crazy overall. Also as well, mainly applicable to A more so than B. There's a lot of verticality on A. So don't be afraid in like the buy phases. Put yourself on top of somewhere like this, and then you can place the TP. But pick up the TP, place it again. And then you've got a nice place to maybe use your operator from or something, you know? Like, don't be afraid to do stuff like that. It's pretty good. Yeah. And the same with when you're... Sorry, I also forgot to mention when you're on short. Place your trip here.
That's a good spot.
It's fine. Don't place it on this side because it's going to get shot before they actually pressure it. So, yeah. They can just shoot it and then run away very easily. So, make sure you place it on this side. Yeah, that's it for defense, I think. So we're going to move on to attack. Okay, so on attack, I'm going to talk about more so about the lurking and like the macro decisions we're going to make rather than the like just going into a site, because I can talk about attacking a site on chamber, and what it's going to be is place trap and anti-flank, go place to rendezvous, then go kill something on contact. Like that's literally like how you play chamber, right? Or maybe you stand still on contact instead. Like that literally is like how you play chamber, like generally. And that's kind of how you play it with your team when you're attacking sites. The more important things and the more important things for this guide are going to be about the macro stuff and how to set yourself up for a lurk. So first I want to talk about this trip, because this trip is it's one of the most universal ones that I think a lot of people know. It's also pretty universal in the way that you're actually going to use it. So if your teammates don't have a plan for the round, this trip can't go far wrong because it's going to cover the flank. Right, and you can kind of play both areas, like kind of like most areas of the map. You can't play showers, but you can kind of play short. You can kind of play hookah. You can kind of play long. So it's going to be one of those things that's like universal. You can kind of just place this if you don't know what the plan is. If there is a plan for the round, though, this is very rarely the best trip. So, for instance, if my teammates want to go B this round, regardless of what they want to do, if they want to do 2-2 or 3-1, so they're going to 3-1 this or whatever, or 2-2 it, whatever, doesn't really matter. I'm going to play A. And usually when I play A, I'm going to do this setup. So when the barriers go down, I'm going to place this. That works. If I need a timing, though, to be fairly early, I'm going to place it here in the, like behind the barrier, like in buy phase, so I can go up against the barrier here. Those are the two trips I'm going to think about placing. This one if I need a strong timing on short, or this one if I don't need a strong timing on short. So generally, I'll just go with that one. And then I'm going to go short. You can place your rendezvous, usually, is best to. And then you just want to basically be a presence on short. You don't want to be lurking in the way that like you don't want to be silent and like sneaky. You want to make sure the enemy team knows you're here. You want to be trying to fight them. You want to be having a lot of pressure, because pressure from a lurker is something that a lot of people don't realize is super, super important. You need to show your presence there. Like, not exactly need to show your presence. There's obviously times where you don't, but for the most part, like you need to have pressure at some point during your lurk to really make it a strong lurk. And obviously that could be the end of the lurk, that could be the start of the lurk, but generally you want to have pressure here. The reason why you want to have pressure in this specific instance is because you want to have pressure for this TP rotation. So then it makes the people on hookah a lot safer when you're here making this pressure, so they don't feel like the enemy team don't feel like they can go and throw util through the TP. They can't TP themselves. So you're making a lot of pressure here. The most important thing is don't die. At the same time as like this pressure, right? It's a fine line to walk where you don't want to die, but you also don't want to be like giving up pressure that you could have. So that's how I want to play A when my teammates are going B. And as you can see here, this is like the map kind of like shows it, right? Where I'm basically finding ways for the enemy team to have to interact with me. Where that's like the main thing you're going to think about when you're playing like an anti-flank or a lurker, is that you want to find ways to make the enemy team interact with you. So here is like, if the enemy team want to push back, they have to go through my team. I have to go through my trip, right? If they want to go short, if they want to go through the TP, they have to interact with me personally, right? I have to, like, I'm going to be fighting them. And if they go B, then my teammates are there. So they're going to interact with my team that way. So either basically, no matter what, the enemy team will, no matter what choke point they go through or like fight in, they're going to be interacting with me in some way or interacting with my team in some way. That's like what you want to think about a lot as a lurker or an anti-flank. And this works vice versa as well. You can place the trip here when the barriers drop and then go play showers. The reasons why you might want to do this is, for instance, you've got your operator or an operator in general. And maybe someone wants to go for the orb. That could be also another reason. Or maybe you think showers is really, really strong this round because the plan is that your teammates are going to take the teleporter and clearing bath is more important than clearing short in that situation. But those are might be the reasons why you lurk like that, right? We go over on to B, and B is a bit more tricky because B isn't exactly the greatest place for your trip. This is probably the best trip for hookah, like for the short area, this B short area, is what it says on the map. It's not exactly the greatest because it's very easy to see if someone does wide swing in any way or like tries to walk through here, they are going to see this trip and they might just straight up not activate it, or better yet for them, they might just sit here and wait for someone to come in like into this angle unsuspectingly and die to this person because this trap is not in a very good position or is in a position that's easily found. So that's the main problem with this trip. And you can do one up here as well. You do have to be a bit more advanced and they can hear it. And once again, same thing can kind of happen like this, right? So this trip isn't very strong in the same way that this one isn't either. Where if you place a trip for long, someone could be here waiting for your teammates to lurk, or waiting for your teammates to like rotate back, and they haven't tripped the trip from here, right? So you want to be careful when you're placing the trips on B and doing this on B, because you have to make sure that your teammates and you are aware that they can retake that space and play really strong off angles potentially against you. You need to be very, very careful with this trip. So if I do go here, I will place this early on, and then I'll go long. And I'll play long like this, right? I'll just, once again, same thing as A short. I'm going to pressure this TP. So they can't TP on my teammates going showers and going short. That's basically the play for Chamber a lot of the time in solo queue, in my opinion. To just sort of pressure the TP on your lurk so they can't just do it for free. You can also do it the other way around, once again. We can have the TP here, we can have the traps here. And I actually generally don't place my rendezvous when I play over here. The reason why is because generally I like to play as like an outlet for my team, or like I like to play as my team for my outlet. If that makes sense. I don't know how to explain it, but essentially what I mean is that I'm gonna like force this person to like use their util. Like if they're very aggressive here, I'll force them to use util, like Phoenix Flash, Sky Flash, whatever, Yoru Flash, and then I can like jump spot. I can be very annoying. So fake out that I'm doing something here, and then I can go run here, place my rendezvous in this corner, and then go play with my team, right? And my rendezvous is not gonna be on cooldown for that play, because generally that's gonna be like a fast play, right? Alternatively, if they don't really like take this space, which you know happens a lot, they don't really like go for this space because it is quite difficult space to take. You can literally just place a TP here. You've got all of hookah covered, and that way you can just like clear everything in hookah. It's been a while since I've done these angles actually, so my god. My actual clearing was actually horrendous there, but yeah, you get the picture. That you can basically just like walk up, place the rendezvous in hookah, and then you've got that rendezvous for the rest of the round. Essentially, if you're going B, if your teammates decide to come B, right, you've got it for the rest of the round. You can play here, and be annoying from hookah. So that's kind of it for the like attack macro. In terms of like actual like rendezvous positions, I've already gone for this one. On long, there's going to be this one over here. Where you can go all the way over here. I would not recommend doing this. You can kind of get a decent angle, but for the most part, people might be doing this when they go through elbow. So you want to be careful. If you can like get a wide angle like this, it's actually not too bad. Just be careful, like you don't have an angle like this when you place a rendezvous, because if you do have an angle like this, you're not going to be able to shoot this person. So I would just take a step back and sit here. And those can be good. This one could be a good rendezvous. Also bear in mind as well that this rendezvous, if I just step here. If the enemy team, or like, if the enemy plays like backside over here, right? If you place your rendezvous like a bit away from the wall, that's not ready. Like this, right? And I'm gonna step on my rendezvous like this. They can't hear you place the rendezvous from backside over here, right? Because it's outside the circle. So if you can get like, so basically you can use this to lurk because they won't know you're there from the sound circle, and you can lurk into positions like this, and it's super unsuspecting for the enemy to think that you're here. Basically, because they haven't heard the trip go down. They haven't heard the rendezvous go down. Just a little like tip there for the rendezvous. That's also a really strong position with the new rendezvous as well, because you can just about do that. there. This one's pretty self-explanatory. You can go here with the rendezvous and go into this corner. But this one I think is also better, also especially with the 18 meters change, because this wasn't possible before. You can actually go all the way into here and have this angle. This is a strong angle, honestly, to have, especially considering how far the TP is from you. So you're basically super untradeable, so you can get an angle like this. If you want a safer angle, very similar to what I'm talking about here and here, because this angle isn't great. There's multiple angles here, multiple head heights here. Instead, you can go here for one head height, take this shot, and then go back all the way to short, which is really strong. One more over here for showers is this one. This one's a bit more risky. So you're going to be going over here. And essentially what's going to happen is that you should be able to hear people going up tower, because generally they're going to be running up tower, especially if this is a lurk. They're going to be running up tower. They're not going to be walking up tower. So you have the info that if someone's going to reach tower first before you might get a kill here, you can go here. And bear in mind, if you do feel pressured in any way, like there are like multiple people like fighting you, there's a player here, there's a player there, just TP away. Like you have the opportunity, like you don't have to take the fight. If there are situations where you are basically immensely pressured, just TP away. It's not worth the chance of getting a kill by just dying on an off angle, or dying to an angle you're not looking at, is what I mean. Okay, so that's it for the guide. I hope that was comprehensive and I didn't just like completely like mess up the explanations, but hopefully that was comprehensive and you actually learned some things. So yeah, comment below if you learned some things. I'll give it a like and subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you in my next one.